and hello to the mini proposal workshops. I now shared a bit of the mini proposal, like today's session. We start by introducing each other introduces themselves, and if they have a problem statement we'll bring up along, we will take notes and bring them up. And at the end of the session, we will vote on our collective and problem statements we're going to work on. And starting with Curtis Myers.
Curtis Myers. I've been around the Cardano community for a couple of years now. I think around Fund 2 is when I got introduced to Cardano. Lots of good people, good communities around here. I just like to be part of all of it. So that's kind of what's been keeping me busy for a couple of years. I noticed that a lot of meetings like this, within the Cardano ecosystem, there are a lot of communities, and it's a lot of decentralized communities. And one of the issues that we see is we have meetings like this all the time, and the only way to really keep up with what's going on and what's happening in the community is either to watch the recorded YouTube videos or read through, tons of Discord messages. So I'd like to use AI to collect a lot of the insights during these meetings and then produce a knowledge management system or a reporting mechanism so that people can review all the insight that was captured during those meetings. So I'm building some AI tools in Deep Fund right now. I have a proposal, and when Fund 10 comes around, I'll probably propose there too as well.
I said, aren't you a teacher? Aren't you an instructor?
That's one of my roles. Yeah, instructor with Gimbal Labs. I work with Little Fish Foundation as well. One of the Web3 developers for Snap Brillia. Yeah, I'm just here doing the same stuff all you guys are here doing, having fun, being passionate, and enjoying ourselves.
Nice to see you, Dorian. Next one, Jonathan Ajay. Would you mind introducing yourself, and if you have a problem statement you want to bring us?
Hi, everyone. I, like Curtis, have been around since about Fund 2, and I'm just here because I like hanging out. I've put in proposals in the past, but I don't have a current problem statement I'm working on at the moment. But yeah, I hang out at Gimbal Labs in the playground sessions. I'm a veteran member of the Catalyst Swarm, and I run Fluid Stake Pool and part of the Extra Small Stake Pool Alliance. I'm interested in all Cardano blockchain topics pretty much. So been on the Prism Pioneers and played with Marlowe, and yeah, I just like to get involved. So yeah, that's me.
Thank you. Next one, Lucy Clifton.
Hi guys, I'm Lucy. I've been in the Cardano ecosystem for a couple of years. I'm really passionate about bringing people together, doing IRL meetings so that people can either get introduced to Cardano, or people that love Cardano can talk about Cardano, because you really can't do that with your regular friends or your family, only with people that know what you're talking about. So that's my big passion. I am thinking about all kinds of different proposals, not really tied down to one yet. But I just really came in here just to see, what everyone's working on and how you would start off. I've been a proposal assessor, so I know that there's so many proposals that are out there, and some are very well done and some are not very well done. So just curious to see how people kind of kickstart their proposals and how they go about it. So that's why I'm here.
Next one, Dorian Totare.
Hey, hello. So yeah, my name is Dorian. Can't remember when I started joining. I kind of took a long hiatus. I dug my head in the sand, and I really wanted to develop and bring something so that I could basically show my skill sets and show my appreciation, and basically kind of make an offering to the Cardano community. So for the past few months, since after Rare Bloom, I talked to nearly almost everyone who's been developing. I've been asking a lot of questions. built a stake pool, built another stake pool to help out with somebody else, and it's entirely their own now. They own it exclusively. And then yeah, I really wanted to solve a problem for the community, so I developed a npm package that allows you to do delegation transactions with all browser SIP30 wallets. I can put it in the link in the chat. But no, I just came here because I'm curious to know more about proposals. Not really looking to start one, just really curious. Thanks, Curtis, appreciate it. And yeah, no, I mean, this is just kind of why I'm here, you know, just to ask a question. But since last time I came, I kind of already had a goal oriented, and then I wanted to deliver it. So that's why I'm here today. And yeah, no, it's nice to meet you all.
The next one I would show Robert Ariano.
Oh, hi, it's Robert, but I put, actually, I got into Cardano Catalyst through trading, through when that GameStop thing went, I was supposed to make a bunch of money, and then all of a sudden, it didn't happen. So I found cryptocurrency, then I found Cardano. But the reason I'm into Cardano, I think maybe a year almost, is I went for my PhD and I used a lot of peer-reviewed research, and I've got a background in computers and project management. So I'm just trying to find a problem statement through my research I've done. So I'm a long ways away. I've just been coming to meet, breakout rooms for a while, half a year or so, and involved with Project Catalyst. But we'll see. I have a really difficult time with the computer part, building stake pools and stuff. I'm getting better at that, but maybe use some of my project management skills and stuff for that. But.
So would I say that today are more of like overall you will be interested in a support position? So basically you have some skills and you're not quite sure what project to go along, but willing to kind of support other projects. Yeah,
that's pretty much it. I've been trying to get the stake pool part done, and go through all the Cardano tutorials to get everything going with that, the developer part and stuff. But I'm just, get into, I just enjoy it. And so I'll just keep coming and just keep learning from all these people that are good at what they do. So that's
okay.
Yeah. So
thank you.
Thank you. Yeah.
Next one, Lucas on the list.
Hey guys. My name is Lucas. I've joined Cardano communities. I started with Gimbal Labs mostly 7 months ago. And then from there, I went to Cardano Builders, then Little Fish, a number of them by now, too many to count, and different engagements in many of them. From Cardano, from Gimbal Labs, I started something called Cardano for Non-Technical People, where weekly I have an open session to help non-technical people use Cardano. We start by playing on the testnet and etc. So that's going to be my problem statement, is that people, when they want to start using things, they need FaceTime with someone to help them to put whatever open questions they have. And so that's what I'm trying to provide with that project. I'm also, out of that one, trying to create a community or a group of professionals to onboard companies as well. So that's going to be more serious on the custody, on taxing and accounting and everything. So those would be my two main proposals that I'm trying to mature, plus helping on some communities that have their own. So I'm probably going to be trying to learn to work on about 5 or 6 proposals in total.
Yeah, it's gonna get tough once like your community gets more than 10 proposals funded and everybody expects to deliver in 3 months.
No, it's different things. It's not. I don't mean that it's going to be 5 for the same community or overlapping stuff. Yeah.
I'm not quite sure if I'm going to submit any proposals in the current round. I've been basically just doing research in some different areas related to some different things like programming language design, developer tools, and knowledge management. And I'm sort of looking at ways to find an intersection between those things. Like some of the research in knowledge management, like Zettelkasten and building a second brain. And there are ways that you could possibly apply that sort of graph-based structure to how you organize a software project too. And and looking at ways to make the experience of using a system like that good for developers, not just developers, but something that would be useful for non-technical people who want to manage knowledge, and how that would integrate with what technical people are doing, like graphing out how different pieces of a project fit together and stuff like that. So I'm mostly in the research and planning stages. I've done some experiments, but yeah, I've submitted a bunch of proposals, haven't gotten funding for anything, so that sort of killed my motivation for a little while. But yeah, I'm still interested in trying to do something along those lines.
The next one on the list is Jenny Brito. Hello.
Hey guys, how are you? Well, I guess my name is Jenny. Been around since the Byron era. I joined the Berry pool early on, where I met my early family here. Alessandro taught me how to run my own relays on Raspberry Pis, which is what attracted me to that pool, and just became part of the whole Armada Alliance of all these amazing, beautiful people. They were helping one another set up Cardano relays and pools, and it was just beautiful. So I'm not a tech person, but I understand well how to communicate. So that took me on a very interesting journey in this ecosystem, and I'm very focused in trying to bridge that gap between us normies and the tech communities. And I recently closed down on my first proposal. I got funded for the developer ecosystem in Fund 9, where I helped Alessandro with a proposal for Lucid, which is an open source library. And which was kind of like my first attempt to, which I'm happy that, of course, Alessandro has such a great product, but I'm really seeking to find how to make this easier so I can help streamline, I guess, develop how Catalyst how can we make sure that Catalyst plays a big role in creating a sustainable open source developer ecosystem in Cardano, which is a priority to me. So I'm here. I'm probably going to put one or a couple proposals this time around. I don't know exactly what I'm going to do yet. I have different ideas, so I don't have a problem statement, but I'm here to learn and see how other people do their stuff, so I can apply anything I like. So yeah, that's me.
Thank you. Could you explain more open source library for what? For the educational content to bridge the normies, or?
No, like you're talking about the proposal I did?
The Alessandro you helped, yeah, you mentioned open source library.
Yeah, that proposal was particular for Lucid, which is a open source library on JavaScript that helps developers, JavaScript developers connect with Cardano, be able to build transactions and build in Cardano without having to learn how to Plutus, right? So it's been very successful. It's used daily by a lot of people. It's probably like about an average of 9,000 to 10,000, between 8,000 to 10,000 downloads a week. So you don't see it as much on GitHub because unfortunately the majority of people who use it keep it closed source. But if you go to GitHub, you can see pretty good amount of people using it, and it's pretty amazing to see.
All right, thank you. And next one in the list is Peef. Be strong. Peef hardware with us.
Yeah. Hi everyone. So I have been following these Catalyst videos for about 2 years now. This is my first time on Zoom in a breakout room. I really wanted to do my own research into everything to fully understand how things work. Because crypto was new to me 2 years ago when I first started following. My background is in banking. I'm a commercial underwriter. So basically I'm the guy who approves and denies loans. I've seen many questionable things across plenty of different institutions. So I do see blockchain technology and stuff, really changing that space. I don't have any proposals or anything here. I'm just here to figure out what I can do to help. Just looking for some type of side project that I can help with my lending experience. I've gone through a few of the products that are currently out there. I believe it was on Monero. My memory's not the best, so I could be wrong there. But I have gone through them. I see like some issues on like why people wouldn't even want those products, but I don't have any coding background, anything like that. I know how banks work and I know how to lend. So looking to figure out how I can help.
Thank you. And let's circle back to Tom Stokes. How is your microphone?
Right. So yeah, I'm Tom. First got into crypto generally a few years ago as a investigatory journalist for Crypto Magazine, which was a lot of fun. I was told to go and find the scoop on something in Cardano, and I actually just fell in love while looking at Cardano, and I just couldn't leave. It was just the ecosystem, the ethos, everything just kind of made sense to me. Since I've been involved in some things with some companies within the space, doing some fantastic things, and very strong advocate for transparency, honesty, integrity in the space as well. We saw things with VCA scores and all sorts of stuff, which came out from IOG about Fernando and that kind of stuff. I got involved really deeply at that point in the whole Catalyst process. So yeah, jumped in, continuing, and now I'm working with a group of people that I've brought over from Ethereum to help map on-chain transactions and visualize part of the Cardano blockchain through our tool NoChuck, which is kind of the focus of what I'm throwing everything I've got out right now. So that's me, and yeah, it's been a great year in Cardano, and looking forward to many more.
Do you have any particular problem statements you would like to work on as you're already working on transparency?
Yeah, so to put it very, very gently, I think there are a lot of problems with Project Catalyst, how it runs the CA, VCA system, all that kind of stuff. And, I've spoken with IOG, spoken with our CA reps about this as well. And we're just looking for ways to make it more equitable and more fair. Make it more possible and feasible that rather than on a rigged basis or on a you can pay someone to get you this score XYZ basis, instead to make it a more open, fair ecosystem. And I think it all comes down to the tech. I mean, Catalyst is an experiment. It's an innovative experiment. So we're looking at how we can shape it to make it fairer for everyone.
And next one, Darius Golkar. And then we have one.
Sure. Yeah, can I tell? So we worked on Stream Cardano proposal. This was a self-described, self-made proposal based basically on our practice in the software industry. We always search for partners, right? Developers that want to use our solutions. That's how we mean the word partner, because there was a certain misunderstanding. So for example, there were people that wanted to chip in and edit the proposal, and in exchange for score, they would like to get a handout. So we don't do this. We only pay for programmers. But we have a problem with editing the proposals, right? So the problem we have is that, sometimes we really put a lot of effort, like we write entire software specification, we write entire business plan, we write what exactly will be in the software, and we still get this feedback from certain people that review the proposal that we didn't put enough or didn't make it transparent enough. So you see, for example, for Stream Cardano project, you can always monitor the activity of our service. Anybody who wants may get the keys for the service, because we use the keys for helping in case something breaks or one user abuses the server. We are about to release the control panel for self-servicing. So there are many things to like improve in terms of the service, but not transparency, right? So we have like tutorials every few weeks. We always ask around on Discord or here if there are any more people interested in using the service. So what would you recommend us to increase transparency and avoid this mishaps and misunderstandings that people generally know that we are like ambitious software projects, and instead of meritoric partnership like a project that would like to make another Cardano service or another distributed application, they require from us a handout, the money for editing the proposal. So what would you advise to do in this two aspects?
Yeah, well, what I do is actually this call itself is one of the solutions what you're describing, like proposals are not transparent enough in proposals, and it could be that proposals don't even know what to write on there. So yeah, I think you're on the right track, like creating more guidelines and things that people can take offline and learn from. I noted down 2 problem statements for the discussion. Let's go to the last person in the room, and then I'm gonna share in Maraboard where I took some notes. And the last person, Darius Kolkar.
So my name is Darius. I am the founder of a project called Common Lands that's building on Cardano. We're currently developing our MVP on Tala Prism. And what we're doing is helping individuals in emerging markets demonstrate their trustworthiness to lenders and businesses and NGOs that are operating in their region. And the way we're doing this is by allowing individuals to create plots of land on maps that they have rights to, and agree on ownership structures and boundaries of those plots to build trust graphs. And then once a trust graph is complete, we issue credentials, and those credentials are what allow people to apply for loans. That credential is also going to include kind of like a credit score, and everything is backed by community verification and is rooted in actual land claims that people have.
One mute. Just wondering, did you describe that as a problem statement, or currently just describe what you're doing, or what you?
I just described what we're doing.
Yeah, but do you have any problem statements you want to bring on, or even like making that thing you're doing, like building that, would be also a problem statement?
A problem statement for the project, or a problem statement for a problem we're going to face building the project?
Both will work technically,
okay,
because we need to solve what you're solving, basically.
Yeah, trust. For undocumented individuals to create trustworthiness and a trust metric to demonstrate their creditworthiness to lenders. So I guess the problem statement is, how do you create trust networks for undocumented individuals to create credit scores that lenders can use to back loans.
I wrote it in a different way, but hopefully it's a good one. I noticed Janie Lau joined in the room, so then might as well.
Can I put in? Because it seems the last project described is very, very, very relevant for the other projects that we consider. So maybe I just chip in to say that I would like to talk about it later.
So right now I'm sharing the Miro board for the mini proposal workshop project part. Why do I do it here? Well, no clue. I just needed a quick Miro board and that was in front of me. I took notes like for every speaker and I put their name as a red one. And then yellow ones are basically all the descriptions around them. In the middle, I moved some insights like are they basically support or master of what they're doing here, or they are here to support others also. And on the edges, I created some sticky notes. I'm right now coloring them orange. So these are the problem statements I picked up from your discussions. We have time to go over them and like briefly describe a bit more into that problem statement. And then after that, we are going all to join into the Miro board and do some voting. So let's start with from top left. Yeah, you mentioned previously. So Darius, I wrote down that there is not enough trust on individuals who has the credit worthiness. Do you find that good problem statement? Although you did fix it in the last. Could you explain why this is a good problem?
Yeah, so if you are, or let me take one step back. There's about $700 billion a year that impact investors are trying to deploy in emerging and frontier markets. And the barriers for them to deploy that capital are very high. The time and effort it takes to enter in a region and understand who's who and how can I trust these individuals oftentimes prevents money from getting to people that are trustworthy, just don't have a way to demonstrate it. And so the problem statement is, how do undocumented individuals prove their trustworthiness to lenders?
In simple terms, could you describe what happens if the individuals is not trusted? What kind of loops they have to go through, or can they even get credit?
Yeah, so the way that this works, we're creating, we call it a claim chain. And so everyone lives somewhere. Whether or not you own the property, you stay somewhere. And so as part of identity on the system and a way to establish credibility, think of merging two things. A claim chain merges a land registry, and on top of that, the social graph of a community. So everyone in a community links to their neighbors and verifies their rights, and then also where there are borders or boundaries, they agree on boundaries. And where disputes show up, that negatively impacts scores for the community and the individuals, and where communities are able to work together and form these bonds, their ranking goes up. And in order to establish your rank and be given your credential, there's a minimum requirement of a community agreeing on 150 undisputed ownership claims to land. And once that threshold is met, then everyone their credentials are minted, they're given to them, and then they can use those to prove trustworthiness to outside businesses or lenders, banks, whoever needs to verify. And then they can use that credential as collateral to back agreements in the system. And so when someone has entered into a contract, their credential is locked and they're prevented from using the system further. So that's a way to build transaction history to further demonstrate trustworthiness and lock people out that default or prove that they're untrustworthy.
Next one on Tom Stokes. I wrote that Project Catalyst assessment is not fair. Do you also think that Project Catalyst assessment system is not fair?
Yeah, I would think what would be the best thing to tell client has validated. Is it identity? Is it a land claim or collateral to the land? Or is it the trustworthiness in the old-fashioned sense of, you know, I know where you live and where you have claims? Because the danger naturally is here that we want to avoid the shared responsibility of the community members for the claim of on single land, right? So this collateral may need to be somehow limited.
The purpose of the ranking is to allow outside parties that have no prior knowledge to enter into markets. And so high default rates, for example, would signify that that's not a good community to enter. And so linking everything together is the purpose of the system.
We go. Lucas shared. You mentioned actually two problem statements, two problems you would like to tackle. What was the other one? And from here, the first one was, as I understood it, a shop which deals with tattoos, and once they are done, you're also recorded on the blockchain.
So the first one is basically Cardano for non-techs is a meeting point to onboard people, to install NAMI, and whatever questions people may bring, all the way to maybe channeling them to trainings around more specific things like staking, catalyst voting, and all that, or DeFi, all those things. The second one you were mentioning, were you turning to the tattoo part, or did I misunderstood? Yeah. So that one, I don't think I mentioned it so much, but today, but maybe you know it from speaking to me before. That one has to do with persisting the image that a tattoo person puts on your skin, and we persist it as well as an NFT. So that one, the problem statement there, and actually that one was funded by Cardano Builders community, and I wrote it down a bit better. So the problem statement that I was using there is that global adoption is not going to come from just creating Cardano Revolut type of thing. So what all the current wallets are just ways of holding ADA and sending it to friends. That's it. But if we come up with Cardano Uber or Cardano whatever, it has very specific use cases. So that's what I'm trying to achieve with this project around the tattoos, to create a themed platform that has a real use case. And not so sure how the NFT use cases would be in there, because it would be basically just having your personal image, the image of your tattoo, that is, persisted as an NFT. But the main thing is that it would be shareable. So it would be, ideally, it would spread organically within that community of tattoo people.
Next one, Cheney mentioned basically a question, how to make sure Catalyst could be a sustainable ecosystem. So there we could somewhat derive a problem statement that currently Catalyst is not a sustainable ecosystem. Does anybody agree and would like to add more?
So I think we should, I agree with this this challenge, maybe not assessment, that we need products that are hosted on Cardano, not just wallets, products, right?
Yeah, I agree with that sentiment strongly. And ultimately, the lack of sustainability in the ecosystem, as well as the lack of resources for developers, that was mentioned by Lucas, are kind of intrinsically linked. Because the incentivization system in Project Catalyst is currently build something for Cardano, you will be compensated by Cardano. It does not have that build a business that is sustainable incentivization model. So no one is incentivized to build a business that makes money and generates value and revenue for the greater ecosystem. Instead, the incentive structure is more so, hey, let's build a product that Cardano likes, because that will get people on Cardano to vote for it, to get more money, to build more things that Cardano is like. It treats Cardano like the customer, or Catalyst like the customer, instead of a startup fund, so to speak.
And with that, you maintain that it's better to also have another, like a challenge setting, or like a way that we focus on businesses which actually build revenue too, not just the intent.
Yeah, product side Cardano. Yeah.
Excuse me.
Could I caveat on that?
Yeah, sure.
So yeah, to kind of bring my challenge or involve my challenge, it's more of right now, if you look at stake pool operators, if you go to their websites, a lot of them don't have a delegation button on their website. A lot of them, you have to go to Pool PM or to another website or another thing or another tool. And a lot of people, might use something like Lucid. And so, what I came with the idea of my tool was kind of to make it easy to use for stake pool operators to run with. The other side of that, though, is that nobody really wants to run the back end that kind of has to do the actual querying of the blockchain in order to get the initial parameters and information to run. So what my idea was with us being a stake pool as well as a tool is that the funds from being the tool basically come from the block production, the rewards.
Yeah.
And this basically altruistically lends that API service out free to developers to write the transactions, to get the parameters, to, it makes that access that much easier, and it allows it to run on front end clients. So that's kind of, just to kind of caveat on that.
Yeah, Dorian, in fact, you're absolutely right. The model of a stake pool operator as business operator, and treating stake pool operators as almost a incentivized way of, hey, okay, every stake pool is decentralized in the ecosystem through virtue of being a stake pool operator. In addition to this stake pool operator is providing this tool, this resources, this value added offering, let's say. Does kind of build into that. But you're saying, if I'm not mistaken, that the vast majority of stake pool operators don't have the tools and resources to kind of create that easy flow from their product offering, which is their stake pool website, to the call to action to delegate.
Yeah, so I mean, if you take a link, look at the link, the NPM package, I have a quick GIF that shows kind of the demo of how it works. But basically, everything is built on the front end. There's only one API call, or a few, but it's to an API, and that kind of allows everything to kind of stay on the client side without bringing any of the client's PPI or personal stuff, passwords and things like that over to a server. But on top of that, no, and to answer, excuse me, Michael's question about, are we going to add transaction? You can. That is an idea. I mean, that's kind of, there's a sense that you can, if you have access to writing transactions, then you could add your own fees to it. But kind of my idea or my approach is kind of one like this, where if the tool is viable enough, then the delegations coming in should be enough to sustain the stake pool itself and the tool's cost for running the queries and things like that. And then if it ever does get abused, then there are other ways for a stake pool operator to be clever and to give access to those that delegate. And then you can go further from.
Dorian, that is at least an aspect of the business model, that mapping tool. And I think other people who are building in the space should certainly look at, if you're receiving funding from Catalyst, there's no reason that can't be delegated, and the principal costs of operating a pool are relatively low, let's say. And if you have the community backing from the product or tooling that you're creating as well, in addition to that, you can put out the pool and get support that way. So that's absolutely there.
I think there is many interesting ways we could dive into. So once we get into the voting round, and we choose this Cardano is not sustainable ecosystem, we could dive more into of the strategies and share more of these insights. I would like to finish up with 3 more problem statements. So Michael mentioned proposers aren't making their proposals transparent. And another problem statement, see issues in this, he sees issues in dishonesty between assessors getting handouts for good scores. So does anybody wants to add more insight on this? I think it's quite similar actually what Tom Stokes mentioned.
Yeah, those are the same, and it's part of the reason we're building our tool system so that we can track through the wallets from reward wallets of proposal assessors to then map them out against, okay, what rewards have PAs received, how are those wallets connected, 7 degrees of separation, XYZ, who, using those analytic tools, are related to these wallets, and what payments have gone on to make this happen in the first place. On a fundamental level, the CA/VCA system is just entirely broken. So it will only be a historical retrospective for us to look back and say, okay, this is how people played the game while these were the rules. Obviously, the rules are changing. We want to push the rule set towards something that's more equitable, and can't be the case that a company within the ecosystem is selling 5-star ratings. That's happening, and that can't be the case moving forwards, which I think is kind of just tantamount to the issues that are that are with the process in general. But as it says, it's an experiment. Things might break, and certainly the good governance aspect of it did break, or is still broken, I should say.
Would you say that in this case it's more like a governance problem here?
Well, the argument that the rules need to change often is a good argument. All that does is, well, it's not an unwise thing, because it creates a new challenge setting and brings in new intelligent people to problem solve to find out how to extract as much liquidity from Project Catalyst as possible. That's still perverse incentives. That are what we better do. What would be better to do is to create a structure that is bereft of that human interference, so that the fairness is within the process rather than the fairness is assumed by the actors in the process acting fairly. And that's where you get into iterative block approval voting. Some have argued quadratic, but it doesn't work. It's where you get into the one wallet, one vote, one ADA, one vote breakdown, and maybe a hybridized system, which obviously is not going to sell. There are lots of different solutions, and it'll have to be a community effort to find what the one that works is. But it's certainly a challenge for governance. No one can deny that.
Can I?
Yeah,
one way of solving it would be the meta review or voting for the reward of the reviews. So not just whether you are a veteran voter or not, but whether after publishing the reviews, because the reviews are public, the numbers are not, but reviews are public, you vote how much this guy should be rewarded, or how much information it brought.
Michael, this comes back to the same perverse incentive. So if we go back to the axiom that, okay, right now we need to be building businesses through this funding to propagate the ecosystem, rather than building companies that just draw liquidity for product, right? If we base it on that, then instead, if you have a system by which the popularity of a company, or the amounts that a company can get the wider Cardano community to engage with the governance process is incentivized, what we then result in is essentially more engagement in governance in exchange for higher probability of getting funded, right? Which draws in people that otherwise wouldn't engage with the governance process. And that's where you start to look at, okay, competitive voting for Project Catalyst, because currently you are competing with everyone in your category, right? An alternative model would be an iterative block approval voting system, which essentially means that you have say you do it every 5 days, you have everyone go in like a X Factor or Top of the Pops or American Idol. Everyone goes in with their assessments into one broad category. And then they reach out to the community. They reach out to get the support, their essential customer base, right? And the wider community. And then you vote on shortlist, vote on shortlist, vote on shortlist, vote on shortlist, which gets rid of the need of VCAs or CAs. And this is getting too complex now, so I won't go into the weeds of it. But essentially, there needs to be some kind of reform that removes the I'm a VCA, I was here for 2 cut funding rounds, that means I have the right to give you a 5-star proposal, and move instead towards the will of the community is this to be voted upon favorably because they have survived this long or because they have provided this value to the ecosystem. Hopefully that will
I
see through
think
the weeds.
you use the very abstract terms like will of the community. So we need to have the measurable metric here. I propose voting on the, because we have voting on the proposals, but it's mostly driven by the reviews. So
Sure. So
for reviews.
Do numerical engagement based on the amount of people that a project who is proposing can get to engage in governance.
All right, these are also interesting discussions. Curtis, you had you also, if you want to chime in on that, and then I move on to your problem statement.
Okay. Yeah, I wasn't sure if this fit here, but there's been, a lot of us have put a lot of thought into this, and there's been previous talks about changing the way proposals are represented in Catalyst. And I think it'd be nice if the community could vote on potential problem statements. And then we address, okay, this problem statement is higher in priority. This is the one we want addressed. Then the proposals produce their solutions. So similar to the challenge settings, you're abstracting what the general problem is, and then people can propose how they plan to solve it. Then we vote on who will implement that solution. Because what we see right now is there's a lot of projects out there that are very similar, if not identical, and they're all competing. And then in many cases, multiple of them get approved and get funded. So 2 or 3 different projects are being funded to produce the same exact tool or solution. So we're inefficiently distributing the funds. Whereas this also promotes these communities and projects to work together to produce a solution potentially and alleviate some of the competition, and it grows to collaboration, at least in my opinion.
So I would have a concern that here we have a healthy competition, right? And we can replace it with somewhat political process that would, would be good for community building, but possibly bad for tech. So we see, for example, 3 or 4 proposals for a similar thing, not the same, because they are technically different how they realize it. And for example, DEX, and you see a lot of these DEX fails. The first version of Sunday Swap was too slow, right? So I don't think we can wait for consensus building when we need to fix this here. And the other concern is this way of funding big projects is used at the country level. And what we see is that a lot of parliament members agree on something, and then there is a tender. And this tender usually picks the lowest bidder, not the highest quality bidder. Not picks multiple bidders to ensure that at least one of few attempts is realized, right?
Yeah.
So it puts everything into one basket, and this basket has lower probability to provide a high quality solution.
Well, again, that's what the iterative approval voting system would do. It would create competition between projects, so they would be, in the same way the military bid for an arms contract, they would be bidding against each other to prove who could add the most value at the lowest cost.
And yeah, and this is exactly what I see. We don't really see the highest quality, for example, offers of the software as a service or cloud providers within the governmental contracts. Right, because they are dominated by the price. That's what happens in military, and by single contractor that basically wins all. So it's very easy to just decrease the capability to only meet the minimum requirements and never go above minimum requirements. And this kind of product will not survive in the open market, where people are actually fighting to win on the qualities, on the features, right?
I think what you're mentioning is quite important. However, right now, I don't really want to dive into too much solutions, but these notes should be taken when we take this problem statement as Project Catalyst assessment is not fair. We can see that we can go many different directions with that proposal, because we have some ideas of how to define and implement new process to actually in the Catalyst. Some are what kind of new rules we introduce to mitigate, and now also like a systematic and philosophical thinking on which is the best way to go forward. The next problem statement was proposal and making the proposals transparent. I think that is quite clear.
That's what fixes that.
And then I mentioned just solution is related to templates, services, and guides. And if anybody has any new ideas, you can drop it onto the Zoom chat. Let's move to the final problem statement before we go into voting. And hard to keep up with decentralized groups and hard to bring up related information from meetings. Do you want to improve the problem statement or share some more insight which I didn't capture previously?
Sure. So what I'm seeing in these communities, I'm involved in quite a few, and to stay up to speed with them or to try to stay on top of what's happening in those communities, I have to attend all the meetings, typically because the insight or the information that's inside that meeting does not exist outside of that environment. You rarely see it transition into a knowledge management system or into a Discord. Sometimes it sparks conversations, maybe in Discord or Twitter, but to follow, those threads is quite difficult. So what I'm proposing is that we capture all the information from within the meeting and make it easily digestible, quick to read. You, instead of having to watch a 2 or 3 hour long YouTube video, you could just read maybe a 10-minute article on what was discussed, what topics were discussed during the meeting. Potentially agenda items get extracted from that. It can help contribute to defining next steps for your project and your goal setting. But we do want to integrate a few key pieces. Previously, someone mentioned about the knowledge management system. We are working with our own knowledge management system, and I'd love to take those strategies and implement that. So you take all the data and the insight from the meeting and structure it in such a way that it's similar to a knowledge management system. And then you interface that with something like ChatGPT, and you can produce valuable insight from the data that's captured during the meeting itself. Now we can bridge, I feel like, that insight to whatever you're front facing, however your community interacts with you. Is it Discord? Is it Twitter? Is it your website? You can extract the data and the value driven from the meetings and present it in such a way that you like to interact with your community.
Okay. And now I will start preparing voting. So looks like in a nice sequence, everybody was happy about your latest pitch of AI tools, which could solve this, what we are having. The next one was Cardano sustainable ecosystem. We won't touch that, but that was also quite an interesting insight, and people had a lot to share about, like different problems with stake pools, education, and Catalyst itself. So definitely a big area where to work on. And finally, to the position was Project Catalyst as assessment system is not fair, and I think she should take notice with that. And that there is a big concerns even in the mini proposal workshops, and people want to kind of solve these issues. So this is what I have in mind, and this is my vision. What do you think, guys? How was this session, and do you think the plan is worthwhile, or I have some holes in there? which you think I could help, or somebody has some ideas that, hey, there's an event going on where I should join and we should take this mini proposal workshop there. We're not gonna do any more of these. Let's learn who are the community members, what they do, what problem statements they're solving. So just keep in mind that we are, the next sessions, we are going to pay more and more attention on the Curtis idea and solving that problem statement. And basically that's it. This is how I imagined today's to be, to end up with a vote, to realize on the solution we collectively would want to work on, and capture some people who want to continue. And if you have your own proposal, then joining these sessions, you will not only help the community and to build the solutions, but also yourself to learn how to use these templates on hand. And when you're using these templates, I also created a feedback link. Let me find that. That if you provide the link of the ideation templates, I will also help using that to market your proposal and give you feedback while you're working on it. But just to start early, so because when Catalyst starts suddenly, then you actually have your proposal with all the feedback, and then you are in a much better position to collaborate with others, read what others are doing, and find like similar collaborators. Anybody has final feedbacks before I stop recording, like on the process itself of selecting proposals, or the way I'm doing mini proposal workshop, who are aware, or in general, what should happen in after town halls? What could I work on to improve the proposers and their journeys?
I just want to share that I thought this was going to be more like around all the processes and all the little boxes to fill in on the proposal structure, for example. But it's great that you're taking it in this workshop approach to help people mature there from problem statement onwards. Yeah, I agree. Like at first, this is actually the goal of these sessions, but I realized previous times when I ran it, the information kind of dilutes. People want to kind of do the proposal, but once it gets like a problem statement and solution stage, I never really had that intention of doing like the entire proposal, because it always took like 10 to 20 hours to do and didn't have the challenge or the experience or that. This time, yeah, we changed the material, and because we have iterated it so many times, I feel more confident to go like to do a full proposal now with everybody. And yeah, so today was mainly focused on just let's learn who are the people who want to do this, who want to support each other. Let's get the crew together and then work on the details.
I think when you added the second problem statement to address or proposal to address, I think that's good, because in the event that the main project can't be there at the meeting, you don't have to stop kind of moving forward. So, and it's difficult to get an entire process in a short amount of time. So I like the strategy. I was just thinking, maybe 1 minute pitches type of thing for the proposals themselves to get an idea of it. This is more if there's a lot of proposals in the room. If there's a quantity of them and we have to quickly get through them, 1 minute pitches is a great way to expose yourself to them and then kind of have questions for when a longer discussion happens.
Okay, so you mean some prepared questions to kind of make, to be able to differentiate what each of these problem statements are or proposals are. Did I understand it correctly?
Yeah, I mean, similar, you asked everybody, what's your problem statement? I mean, I think that's definitely good enough. Just try to bullet through them with each person. And then we can have a more extended conversation on those that people choose to talk about, maybe, or. In this case, it wasn't a problem. You know, I mean, yeah, it lasted what, an hour and a half, 2 hours. I'm not sure. But if there's more proposals, which often does happen, then it can turn into 3 hours easily.